What is up, beautiful people? Welcome once again to Clothing. Welcome to another wonderful video. In today's video, we're going to learn how to make a skirt vent using the enclosed sewing technique. We're going to be starting from drafting the pattern on our fabric, cutting it out, cutting the lining, sewing the darts, fixing in the zip, cutting the waistband, every single detail needed to create a perfectly and professionally finished skirt. So if this is something you're interested in, please do keep on watching. And if you have any questions, leave them below. I would love to read from you. And let us begin. First thing you do is mark the length of your skirt. The skirt length I'm working with is 26 inches. I'm going to be adding 2 inches because I'm still going to put a band and then the hem of the skirt. The next length is the waist to hip measurement. I'm using 9 inches. Waist to underbum, I'm using 14.5 inches. I'm going to draw a horizontal line across those points I have just marked, and then my waist to knee, which is about 18-20 inches. So rule the horizontal lines. Waist measurement divided by 4, mark that, put 1 inch for the dart, then 2 inches for the sewing allowance. Along the hip line, going to do hip measurement divided by 4, mark that, and 2 inches for your sewing allowance. And then on the bum line, that's directly under your bum, divide that measurement by 4, mark that, and put your 2 inches sewing allowance. Whatever you have along the underbutt line, you're going to also mark that on the knee line. So once you've put that point there, go ahead to join all those points together. I'm going to go ahead to put the dart measurement. So use your nipple to nipple point divided by 2 for this dart line. Now we can cut this out. This is just the front of the skirt. Pretty straightforward and easy to go by. So the length of my dart I'm using is 6 inches. So for this part, I'm taking my skirt, the front skirt, placing it on my fabric. Remember, you're going to fold the fabric into 2. I left about 4 inches before placing the skirt on there, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is cut along the sides. So because we are trying to create a vent, putting this point so I know where the horizontal lines, those mark lines that we had for the front, where it falls on the back as well. Go ahead to mark it out. Now for my zip allowance, I'm using just 1 inch for the zip allowance. I'm going to join that point all the way down. But because your back where the bum sits is not straight, no matter how flat your bum is, you need to take out 1/2 inch from that skirt waist and join it just up onto the hip line. And then on the knee line as well, we're just going to taper it in again. So this is what I mean. We're going to taper it in to follow the natural curve of the body. Now, if you're sewing for a well-endowed client, someone that has the back side really protruding out, you may want to go as much as 3/4 inches. That's 0.75. And then I'm rubbing off the perfectly straight line that we had initially so that we can now see the natural curve of the body. So next we're going to put the vent. For the vent, we are, you need to mark out how low or how high you want the slit to be. So I'm using about 22 inches for that. Then I'm going to cut just along that zipper allowance and then go out this way. Okay, I hope we understand what's going on here. So that part is just going to be the vent area. So we have our front and we have the back. Remember, we lowered the front skirt waist. You're going to lower it from the center front by 1/2 inch. I'm going to put a band, but I reduced my band to about 1 inch wide so that I can get the exact length of my skirt that I aim to get, which is 26 inches. What I'm doing here is putting the front part of my skirt on that straight rectangular piece and then just going along the shape there. Now I'm just going to measure the width of my band. I initially just cut 3 inches, but I'm going to reduce this length to just about 1 inch. I do not want the band big. Don't want it wide, I mean. So I'm just cutting this. Now we're going to go right ahead to sew this up. Okay, this is what we're having for the back. Cut out the lining piece, 2 pieces. So the lining is about 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. And for the front, cut unfold. Okay, so you can see it's about 2 inches shorter. Exactly. So we'll go right ahead to sewing our dots and fixing in the zip. The next thing we're going to do is along the back, the center back, we're going to iron fusible interfacing. You can use hair stay. You can use what other type of interfacing do we have? Iron along the back just to give it that structure so that when you sew in your zip, this is what helps to keep your zip in place and also keep your slit in place so that it doesn't just start ripping, because it's usually from the back along the slit line that it starts opening up. So when you fuse an interfacing, it gives it more stability, more structure. So that's what we're doing. I'm just marking the point where my zipper should end, and then I'm going to close up from that part. I'm closing it up from there just up onto where the vent begins.
Strings attached, maybe we could take that back, make it what it isn't. I wanna be with you, we just get along so well. Want you, baby, to my side. You know we get together, why don't we pass it out? I think I want forever, maybe we find some luck. Maybe we find some love, maybe it's alright.
Very good. So this is what we'll be having. I attached the zip and then I also closed up that part. You're going to sew it up until that L shape. You're going to sew it all through the parts where I chalked initially. So after you've sewn up that part, we are now going to just cut to the point where that sewing is. You don't want to cut through it, you want to just cut to the point there, so that center back can open up that way. So once we've done that, this is what you should have.
Maybe it's crazy I do. Maybe it is, but I'll live with it. If it means I'll have you. If we could be together, I'm section.
Place the back part of the skirt right size facing you. Take your lining. Match right size to right size from the lining. Your vent is going towards the right, yes, that way, as you can see.
All of my friends wanna hear about us. All of your friends wanna hear about us. So let's roll with the punches that come with a thing called trust. We don't gotta rule out commitment. I want you differently. I think this is love. Yeah. I think this is love. Love. Yeah. You know we get together. Now we pass it out. I think I will forever. Now we find some love. Now we find some love. Maybe it's us. But am I crazy for trying? I'm crazy for you.
So on this other part, we're just going to fold up that 1 inch. Let's give this a press so that we can have the accurate measurement, accurate marking. So I'm just eyeballing my 1 inch here.
While it's all on the table, I'm not real. I lead the life you want from me, and I show it too. Not different from anyone, not better, but I wish I was. Just give me the lines you need to read, and I'll say them. From everything I've seen, there's no more mystery. All there is seeing, and there's no more left to see. 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 Comparing to everyone, not her, but kinda wish I was. I'm torn between my dignity and giving more to see, and I'm not the only one. And I hate to pass that to even one, so I contradict myself. Oh, won't you please forgive me? 'Cause I'll be next in line to lie and show you life. The song's a misdirection to what sells and gives you life. So step back in line. So now step back in line. So now step back in line. There's no more left to see. So now step back in line.
Bring the back skirt piece, match the lining to the main fabric so that we can get where the zip stops on the main fabric. Just mark that point on your lining as well. This is a point of reference where your sewing should begin. So we're going to start sewing exactly from that mark and stopping just at that vent. that area where we've just shaped. After sewing, this is what we are having on the wrong side. So we're going to put this back again, right sides of the back skirt facing you. We're going to sew along the hem so that we can have a properly enclosed skirt. Yeah. So we'll go ahead to sew the vent part. Kindly watch this video to see how it's going. So this is how we attain a clean professional finish. We're trying to close up the vent area with the lining. The sides are open, so we're just going to practically put our hands through from the side seam so that we can catch raw parts and then sew it. So for this area, we have to sew like a diagonal, like a triangle here. From that point, I'm going to take it to the machine. Yeah, exactly what you see me do here. Exactly. So you see, this is what we're going to do. So this is what you should be having there. Okay, it's coming up together nicely. We'll go ahead to also enclose that part that is opened. Now, after sewing up, you can see that you give this a very good press and everything relaxes. The next thing is just to sew that part there. Once that is sewn, I also use the hemming gum to just secure its place, to secure it properly. So once that is done, all your vent vent wahala is complete. So we'll go right ahead to go back to the zip. So from the start of the zip to where the zip ends, exactly where the zipper finishes. So that's where we're going to sew up to. Stop there. Do the same for the other side of the zip. Just marking that point. So from the start up onto where the zip ends. Amazing. So now we're going to go back to the front, right side of the front, facing you. Place the lining right side on the right side of the fabric. We're going to just sew along the hem. Remember that our lining is 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. So just pin to secure both pieces of fabric together. Just want to go with a straight line. I'm using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I'm going ahead to do my zip as well. So now I'm going ahead to put in, to mark the exact measurements I have for my skirt. So I will still accurate. I still have my 2 inches sewing allowance that has not been tampered with. And that's exactly what we're going to be sewing. So you're going to pin the 2 sides of the enquires, that's the back and front, leaving the lining out of the way. Just as the instruction in this video provides. I'm going to pin that. And then go ahead to pin the lining as well, just this way. Once you've done that, you just turn it inside out and fix in your band, and that's practically the end of the project. Let me know if you have any questions below. I'd love to read from you